Hello everyone, welcome to this session, onboarding session for Part 3 students. I welcome you all, and I think the most of you who are here have gone through a tough time in last 2-3 days. But yes, I think this session will give you a lot of peace and relief and will definitely help you go forward. Right, this session is not about like what is part 3, what all things we need to study for the part 3. I believe you all know that what to study, how to study, and what is the pattern of exam. So this is not that orientation session. This is particularly meant to discuss the points for which we all are struggling, right? Which most of the candidates are actually struggling for, where to start, how to go about. So commonly asked questions. Being a mentor, I get a lot of calls from the students who are facing the difficult times. And whatever questions I have got from those I have included in this. And what are the answers from my side and what I have information got from the past candidates, right? So it's like I'm going to give you something evidence-based strategy here, right? Because where does the evidence come from? We have weighed the behavior of the past and the candidates who have failed, who have gone through certain challenges, right? I will not use the word failure because failure is not at this point of time. I totally believe that anyone who has reached here has gone through the toughest exam, that is the MRCOG Part 2 exam. And if you have gone through that exam, then there is no exam in the world which you cannot cross. Because that was the most toughest part, and if you have done that, then nobody can stop you from going beyond that. So, first thing is, failure is not a correct word to go about. It's just that sometimes we may be challenged by some things, and we were not ready to overcome those challenges. So that's okay. We always face in life such conditions, right? But what we have to do is we have to look for what were the challenges, make a repeat strategy based on the best possible information we have, and stand up again to face it, right? We all have reached here, and I definitely believe that each one of you have that type of intelligence, caliber, and that type of passion, right? Can you please mute whoever is? Okay, thank you. So this is very, very important to remember that, because many of the students are like also coming with, shall I go ahead or not? Can I do this or not? I know that this all brings a lot of mental trauma, right? I totally agree to that. You take your own time, settle yourself. When you feel comfortable, then start again. These all can be done. But remember, the tough times never last, but tough people do. This is my favorite quote, and I want all of you to also hang this on your wall. Tough times don't last. Time has to change. No time will stay like this, but tough people do. And when we have reached up to this part of the stage where we are going for MRCUG with all the things around us, particularly, I think, whether it's girls or boys, whoever are taking up the exam, everybody is going through the work conditions, the family pressures, lots of things going around, and still we are proceeding towards this beautiful journey. That's the toughest thing which you have already encountered, right? And you have gone through that, so you are destined to succeed in this exam. And this is not like the test of your intelligence, or you start thinking that I'm not good enough in the studies. It's not like that. It's only that there are 2-3 more things which we will talk about. And particularly if I want to focus on one thing, then we just have to understand the RCOG's pattern and what RCOG wants from us, right? So that's the only thing. We have to be in that shoes. That's all. If we are not properly fitting in those shoes, that has led to this type of result. And we can obviously fit our feet properly in the shoes Next time, no issues with that, right? And today in this session, what I'm going to talk about is how we are going to identify those challenges and how we are going to plan our new strategy for that. And looking at this evidence from the last exam, what changes I have made in my course for the benefit of all, right? So this is all we are going to talk about. And in between, wherever you have any questions, wherever you agree with me, wherever you disagree with me, or wherever you can put in your point, you are very much welcome to do that. And I'll be happy to have this as an interactive session rather than having a lecture session. So you all are very much welcome. You can write in the chat box. You can unmute yourself and speak up. You can raise your hands. I'm totally comfortable with that. Right? So your journey to MRCOG Part 3 success starts today again from here. Insights, strategies, and solutions help you pass confidently. So I'll start with the insights, then we'll see how we can strategize, and finally, what are the solutions I have created to help you all. Right? So we will be going through all of three. So these are the commonly asked questions, which people ask me often on a daily basis, particularly for the last 2-3 days. I struggle to handle scenarios as per examiner expectations. I talked about everything, but I don't know why the examiner was not happy. I couldn't see that the satisfaction on the examiner's face, or the percentage I got did not reflect the way I talked in the exam station. So basically, this all questions come under this one heading, that I struggle to handle scenarios as per examiner expectations. I don't know if I am practicing in the right way. I practiced a lot, but still I faced these challenges when I went on the exam, and of course the marks are not in alignment with that. So I don't know whether the way I was practicing was right or not. Now that when I'm standing here, I'm unsure about how to start. I'm unsure where to go now, right? So where to start? I already did everything. What I knew, I just did that. So from where to start now? So these are the commonly asked questions from me for the last 2 days. If any one of you want to add any question, you are welcome. Or if you say that you are aligned with this, you can just let me know, yes, and yes or no. Yeah, anybody of you who would like to comment on this? Yeah, I would be happy to hear your voices as well. Anybody wants to comment on these commonly asked questions? Do you have any more questions? Yeah, thank you for writing in the chat box. Yes, ma'am, totally right, Reyes. If anyone wants to add anything, we can answer all those questions, right? Anything? Okay. So thanks for answering, Dr. Shweta, that you also believe that these are the issues we need to tackle. So right now we will talk about how to answer these questions. Meanwhile, if still you have any questions, just leave them in the chat box or just let me know. So basically, now, when I went through I talked to many students. So what I came out with these 4 things, right? What are the common challenges encountered, right? Where we can work better or where we could have lagged behind. Any person may have lagged behind in all 4, or somebody may have lagged behind in only one of these. So this is the problem statement. What are the problems here? Because whenever we want to make a solution, first thing is that we have to understand what is the problem actually, right? This is the question that is really haunting everybody's mind. What is the problem here? So what are the common challenges encountered? Either I could not understand what the examiner expected, right? Misunderstanding the examiner expectations. Or whenever the role player was asking the questions, I could not gather it properly what she was actually answering. The common example of this is the role player kept on asking the same question. She was repeating the same question again and again. When I teach, and those who are my students, they know that when I talk in the class, I tell them that if the role player is repeating her question, that means you are missing on something. And in that case, never repeat your previous answer. Open your mind, take a moment, take a deep breath, think what you have not told first time in your answer. Never try to repeat the same answer. It's not going to work, because if you have answered properly, she is not going to repeat the question again. So most of the time what happens is, what we think that the role player is asking the repeat question because she might not have heard, or I was not clear enough to make her understand what else she wants. But no, there is something which is missing. We need to talk about it, right? This is one just example of making the point clear that how we misunderstand the things, right? Now this can be from the role player is also just putting up questions on behalf of examiner. So basically we are just not living up to the examiner expectations. So that all comes in this particular scenario. In structured discussion, this may be about talking to examiner, but in role player sessions, role player is representing the examiner. Second thing, what should I have done? I've done more of the theoretical study, more of the self-study. I've gone through the guidelines. I should have gone through the talk articles, or I should have done more of the station practice, right? Particularly when it comes to last few days, last 15 days, last 1 month, when you have a lot of things to revise, there is a tendency that people start thinking that, okay, now let me not waste the time with the study partner. I have to wait for her. And there are many issues. Like when we practice in the groups, there are many issues, right? We waste some time also in that. So basically the question comes, whether I should do more of self-study or should I do more of station practice? So this is also one big thing, because if you start self-studying and you stop station practicing few days before the exam, right? Like 5 days before the exam or 7 days before the exam, that also brings a large difference in your performance. No, it's not that it's going to help you in the performance. Rather, it actually makes a problem with your performance, because there it is like you may have a lot of knowledge, but if you are not able to pour out that knowledge in front of the examiner, then it's not going to work for you. And to pour out that knowledge in the 10 minutes, you need everything to be at your spinal level, not in your brain. It should like we have a spinal reflexes where we do not think. Our higher centers do not work. There is no effect of anxiety. There is no effect of depression. It is just working on a spinal reflex level. Things are just coming up, right? This is the level we want to achieve when we want to go for the exam. So we'll talk about like self-study is good, more of theoretical knowledge is good, or more of station practice is good. Then comes the lack of open application of feedback, right? We do present our stations in our courses, in our open groups, to many of the mentors. We try to do that, right? But are we open for the feedback, and are we actually implementing the feedback? That's very important. Sometimes what happens is that we keep on presenting because we are in a rush. I need to present a lot of cases. I need to do this. I need to do that. But after the getting a feedback, there needs a time to introspect. Then time is needed to absorb that, right? So if you have got a feedback for even 10 stations, you need a time to absorb it into and bring it to your spinal level, right? And one more thing is that when you go and present the same case to many mentors, you may get different types of feedbacks. But then it does not have any problem. That's very good that you have different types of feedback. But then finally, what you have to do is sit back, relax, just jot down your points, right? And see what extra feedbacks you have got. Now it's the time to filter, right? Put a filter and use your wisdom to see which is correct, what I am going to add here, and what is extra which I might need to just take out, right? So this is how we have to talk about the feedbacks, right? Particularly when we are doing the feedbacks, it's very important that we should be very clear with our feedbacks that what is the domain that is lacking. If every time in your feedback and every time you are getting the same domain again and again, then it's time to reflect on that and sit back and go to the basics of that domains, right? What actually that domains include. Because for every domain, there are certain basic points which will be common in all the stations, which you have to follow in all the stations. And then there are some extra points which are specific to that station, right? So if you are good with the basic points, you can still score the borderline marks in your stations. And if you can just add a few of the specific points as well, you pass the station, right? So it's the basics which make a problem. When you walk into the station in exam with open-mindedness, right? Because many a times the scenario which is mentioned outside is just an outline of something, right? It's just an outline of something. As you go inside and you start talking to the role player, you take the information from the role player, then comes a lot of the things which enter into the station, right? She may give you a positive history of something. She may give you some other information which add-ons to your management options, right? So now if you are like, you have already done a recall about this. Like I'm giving you the example of a patient who has a pregnancy with the copper IUD. This is a recall question, right? I think all of you must have done that. Now, there are two scenarios. In one, there is an intrauterine pregnancy, and in another scenario, the patient has come just with the missed period and the copper IUD, right? Now, if you have done a scenario with the intrauterine pregnancy with copper IUD, you are very well prepared. What are the complications patient can face? What can happen in this? What is the management I'm going to tell to the patient? Now, in exam, the scenario comes as she has missed period and she has copper IUD. How does these two scenarios differ? Any one of you? Any one of you? How do these two scenarios differ? One scenario with diagnosed intrauterine pregnancy with copper IUD and another is just missed period with the copper IUD. Anybody?
Yeah, she's not sure whether she wants to continue. She doesn't know she's pregnant for the second scenario. And the first scenario, she knows that she's pregnant, and we have to advise her about the future, whether she wants to continue or terminate. But the second one is she has to know whether we have to advise her that she's pregnant and then go about it.
So, but she has done her UPT. She knows she has pregnancy, right? But scan is not done, right? So what is important? The important thing is that when scan is not done, then with copper IUD, we know that there is a probability of ectopic pregnancy, right? Which is not there in a patient who is already carrying a scan with intrauterine pregnancy. So this is a very big safety point here, right? When a patient is coming without scan, she has just come with the missed period and a UPT positive, and she is with copper IUD. Now, because we have read that scenario of intrauterine pregnancy, so we are into the flow that we have to talk about the pregnancy and its complications. But the problem starts is when the patient is coming with the missed period, UPT positive, but no scan report. First thing is I will do the scan to see whether the pregnancy is intrauterine or it's an ectopic. Because my further management, further complications will depend on whether it's an intrauterine pregnancy or it's an ectopic pregnancy. If I'm going to talk only about the intrauterine pregnancy, I'm missing totally the ectopic pregnancy part, which is a very important part because actually that can threaten the life of the patient. Am I right? Am I right? Does it align with the scenario? Yes, what are your thoughts? Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So basically, this is what I want to say, that sometimes what happens is that we have done some types of scenarios in the exam, because this is what happens actually. Recall questions do come in exam, right? But they have some twists, okay? So if we have done the recall questions, but we have not gone to exam with that open-mindedness, okay? Then comes this problem. So we have to be open to all the scenarios when we enter the exam, and we have to look at the patient in a broader perspective. And is it possible that we just go into the exam and do this on a very first day in the exam? No, it's not possible. Unless and until I've gone through such stations in the training, right? If I've gone through the variations of the station, that if the patient is presenting at this point, it is going to be handled like this. If the patient is going to present it after the ultrasound, then I have to deal it like this. So it's very important that you do not do one task, but do variation of tasks, right? So a mentor can actually help you with that, because like if I know that there are two types of IUD stations which come in exam, right? So when I'm teaching you or when I'm taking that IUD station in the class, I can actually tell you, right? This is one recall, but there is another sometimes also which comes, or this could be the probable scenario which can come in the exam, in which you can have this type of a picture. But there, be careful. You start from saying that we have to rule out ectopic pregnancy. Now, because you have that one line in your mind, now you go and put up that statement in the exam. And if the role player asks you about the ectopic pregnancy, you are very well versed with it. You can easily talk about ectopic pregnancy. There is no issue. But the one, because you had that point in the mind that if there is no scan, we have to look first, do the scan to see and localize the pregnancy. Because with IUCD, there is higher chances of having an ectopic pregnancy. You just rock that station, right? So it's how the person who is actually making you go through the stations can tell you what are the variations. He can give you a broader perspective. You can also do it yourself, but of course it will be a bit of the tedious task. That first you go through all the recalls, then separate out the similar types of recalls and see how many stations, like when it came again and again, what were the variations with which that station came up. And that will help you doing that. But of course, that will take a time, and of course, that you have to work for yourself. But if anybody is doing a self-study, then please do this homework. This is a very, very important homework, because you need to see that in various variations of the same topic, how your conversation with the role player differs, how your patient safety points differ, how your knowledge, what you have to show in the exam differs with these variations. The topic is same, but there are variations. And if you don't want to do yourself, then look for a mentor who can actually give you this broader perspective. Because just going through the stations will block you, it will give you a tubular vision. But if you go through the complete arena about it, then your vision will be broader. So these are the 4 common challenges which I have observed after talking to many candidates. Many of them might be my students, or many of them who are not the students, but they come for just a help, like they want to understand what went wrong or how can they go further. So talking to a lot of students, I have come through these points. If anything else comes to your mind, please, you are open to let me also know. What else you faced when you were going through the exam preparation, or you find your percentages not aligned with your preparation. If anything else comes to your mind, please let me know. Anything else you want to add here? Yeah, what else challenges you think you faced? Fine?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Dr. Sudha, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Regarding the labor ward prioritization, there were a lot of information which we were supposed to ask, and the examiners were like telling what specific information you need for each of the tasks. So that was something unexpected in the exam.
Right. Okay, so you want to say that for that information you were not prepared, right?
When we kept asking, they were asking ask for specific information.
So that's what I'm saying. No? You were not prepared for those questions, right? But you felt that you were not ready for those questions, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that I can just put up in the first column, like misunderstanding examiner expectations. We were not prepared up to the mark of examiner's expectations.
Yes.
Yes.
And ma'am,
yeah.
And ma'am, one thing more, ma'am, in labor ward prioritization, they are saying go with the urgency, urgent, semi-urgent. Don't go room wise. Say speak about first urgent case. So this also confusion is there. We should go room wise or through like urgent case or semi-urgent case like this.
Right.
This also.
Yeah. So basically, normally they allow both ways, right? I don't know in any specific examiner if telling you, but the most important thing is that you can tell him the most urgent one, start with the most urgent one, and then you can go room wise, right? This could be one of the options which you can follow. But otherwise, if you go room by room, that is also fine. I think any specific examiner may say that, but otherwise, usually they allow going either way, right? But in middle option, which I told to the candidates last time also, like they can just talk about one main urgent room first, and then they can go about room to room. This is important because in 2 minutes, sometimes it is very difficult to read through all the scenarios completely, right? And when you start labeling them from urgent, non-urgent, second urgent, third urgent, you may actually missing on some small points. But of course, one urgent you can always pick up on the one view. And after that, when you start talking room by room, you can just go through the scenario and important points and pick up the things which you want to ask.
Okay,
Right?
ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So any other things which you think you faced as a challenges which you want to discuss? And then I'll move on to the next
Ma'am,
thing.
I had difficulty with the structure discussion, ma'am.
Yeah.
This time, this examiner, it was more like Viva. Like when we were asked some about the post-op thing, then when we started telling from the care what we taught, like how we start with counseling and everything, but he was expecting the answer as incident report, which I was able to tell at the last. But he was like stopping me in between, more of a like one word answer he was expecting, ma'am. It's not like what we practiced as a flow.
Yeah. So basically, structured discussion task can be both ways. One way is like they can just give you some topic. There were some topics where some days there were some structured discussion tasks where they just allowed you to speak, right?
Yes.
And there were other tasks also, which, as you are saying, they were asking very specific questions and they were just wanting those answers from your mouth, right? If you speak
ma'am.
that answer, you are okay. If you don't speak, you are not okay, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
these are the two things we have to be prepared for both ways, right? If we have to speak, but it is very clear that we do not have to go through the theory as if we have to go through the 4-5 pages. Ultimately, in 10 minutes, nobody can speak more than 1-page notes, right? Only 1-page summary is more than enough for anything, whatever you are preparing for, whether it's a role play station, whether it's a structured discussion task, right? So 1-page summary is the answer for your most of the problems, because 1-page summary you can always remember again and you can highlight the words there, points there, right? They don't want to speak up long sentences. They just want the standard words, right? Which should come up from your mouth, right? So this is very important. And from this particular, otherwise also talk stations always, talk articles used to be important for the structured discussion task. But this time again, many talk stations were included in the exam, right? Particularly on the day 1 and day 4. Day 2 and day 3 were still fine as from the previous experiences, but day 1 and day 4, the students suffered a lot because of this particular thing. So looking at that, we have added few things, but that is what I'm saying, that looking at the current scenario, I've made certain changes. I'm just going to talk about how we are going to handle that challenge, right? So just, I'm coming to that. So when I talk to the past students, I came to know what do they do differently, or what I believe is. First thing is attending the live sessions consistently is very, very important. Presenting cases and getting a real-time feedback, right? And try not to prepare one case for your class. Even if you know for the class that these are the 8 or 10 topics we are going to discuss, don't try to prepare only one case. Be prepared with all the cases, because in exam it's not going to be one case. So prepare for those 10 cases. What I do is I give you a 6 days or 7-day window for one module. First 2 days, I give you some videos. I'll show you the website screenshot also, how I do. And those videos have the information about all the stations what we are going to talk about. They have a information about that. You can go through that and be prepared for your stations of the class. And in class, try not to choose the station. Okay? Be prepared for all the stations. So whenever any station comes, that's a surprise for you. Okay? And you will be prepared like the exam. What happens is students try to decide their station and then they try to present that one station. So they present it very nicely. But what about the other ones, right? You are not prepared for that surprise which you are going to handle in the exam. It's better to take that opportunity or take that challenge in the class rather than taking that challenge in the exam, right? So better to make the mistakes in the class in front of the mentor rather than going and making the mistakes in the exam. So this is one very important. And keep the stations anonymous. Try to keep the stations anonymous for yourself. Avoid knowing what are the cases you are going to present before the practice. You should do this in a case in the course material, but it is always advisable to do at least last 2 months when you are practicing recalls. Keep it anonymous. Mock exams are a must, right? It's a must. No need to take multiple mocks here and there and that, right? You and your study partner can give a mock to each other also, okay? So for that, if you have a structured examiner's sheet in your hand, if you have a domain-wise marking in your hand for a particular station, then you can easily mark each other, right? It's a standard mark sheet, right? So if you have that mark sheet in your hand, and then it becomes very easy. And if 2 people are studying, one day you can give another person 7 mocks, 7 stations in a continuation and give him the feedback from that mark sheet. And the second day, that person can give you the feedback. So this way, if you go for a last 1 month, you can have multiple mocks. You can have multiple mocks, and this is like a marathon, right? What happens? Usually we present one station, then second station somebody else presents, third station somebody else presents. So we do not develop that stamina of performing the stations one after another. And second thing is, if any of the station goes wrong, we carry that stress into the next station. So the answer to this is, like, if you are practicing 7 station, 10 station with your study partner already, and sometimes you must be facing that you don't know the station. Sometimes you forget something. So you know how to handle that stress. How to handle stress in the exam is also a very important point. This is not a 100-meter race. This is a marathon. You need to pick up that stamina, mental and physical, to handle that exam for 3 hours, right? So better to start with your study buddy only. Well, 1 month or 1.5 month before the exam, do 3 cases in a row, then do 5 cases in a row, then do 7 cases in a row, then do 10 cases in a row. This way you will be so much prepared for taking 14 stations in a row. That stress, that you will be, that all things will be on a reflex level, right? Same way, when I used to take the part 2, for my students, I tell them to start with the 10 questions, 20 questions, 30 questions, and by the time they go to the exam, they are practicing 100, 150 questions in a day. So what happens? When they have to read the 100 questions, many of the students get tired by the end. They go to the EMQs of the obstetrics. But when you are practicing it like a marathon, you are ready. You are alert till the last question. This is how the part 3 stations are also. They are also like, you may, if you notice your preparation or your performance in the exam, you will notice that whenever any station goes wrong, the next one, even if you know it very nicely, you are like a bit hazy or bit in a trouble handling that station. Because outside you just have only 2 minutes. If you are not utilizing those 2 minutes properly because of the effect of the prior station, that is something which is going to make a problem with your performance. So practicing mocks. Take the mocks, practice with the mentors. That's a different thing. That's completely your choice. But it's good to have so many mocks among yourself. That really helps. And this is Not just that I'm saying, it's from the experience I'm telling you that this is very, very helpful. Then practice cases during the gap between the sessions and the mock. Never sit one day without practicing. Even if you practice one case daily, do it, because that will keep you again in the circle. Talks are very important. If you have joined any course where they are giving you the talk summaries, that's very important. If not, then you do for yourself, but make one page summary, not bigger, right? Because only that much is the thing you can tell in the exam. So that's very important. Again, be very open-minded to what role player is saying. So listen carefully to the role player cues. This is a sentence I think you must be hearing from the first day when you started preparing for your Part 3 exam. But still you have seen that when you go to exam, sometimes you are so much stuck with your own ideas that you don't want to go with the role player. One example I already told you, when role player keeps on asking the same question. So what happens? We are actually stuck with our idea that I have told her what should be told. So I'm not thinking about anything else, right? But I'm like, why she is asking? I've already told her what I had to tell her. So this is what that I'm stucking to my idea. I'm not going in a flow with the role player. So this we have to break, right? This is said many times, but not done every time, right? So we have to bring this into our practice. So these are the must-do points, which might seem as something like we know from the very beginning, but when we apply them, they really work. Now, what are the solutions to these common challenges? So I said that it's a misunderstanding expectations. So what I can do to help you is that if after every station you get a structured domain-wise answer mark sheet, right? Checklist. If you have a structured checklist with you, you don't have to wait for anyone. You can just pick up that with a role player and anybody can mark you on that, right? He can just tick cross how much you have told. And you can be marked by anyone. So you don't have to wait. And if you have that answer mark sheet in your hand, it becomes very, very, very easy for you to practice the stations and find out where you are lacking. And you, from that mark sheet, you also know that what examiner is expecting in this particular station according to various domains. So it's your mock structured mark sheet. If you have for every template, I think it's going to be a wonderful thing for all of you. So we have included this. For every template, you will be having domain-wise chart so that whenever you want to practice, you can easily do that in that exam. Yes, we do not know what is the static point in each domain. So that's what we are going to talk about, right? That is what is going to come in the structured mark sheet, right? So at least if you know 80% closer to the examiner's mark sheet, that's also going to make wonders. Am I right? Does it sound helpful? Anybody? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shweta. So anybody else wants to comment on this? Does it sound helpful, or you think anything can be better than that? Okay. So lack of real exam practice. So I already told you, you can practice many times with your role players. You can take all the advantage of presenting the cases with your mentors. Never miss your opportunity of presenting. If you don't have a long time to join the class, maybe you don't have a 2 hours or two and a half hours, at least take out that half hour when you can present your case. Like in my sessions, I tell my students, like if they can join only for the half hour, so they can just let me know what's suitable half hour when they want to present. So I can just put up and try to align with them, right? So that they can take up the maximum opportunity, even if they are not attending the complete session. They can listen to rest of the recordings. Another thing which I always tell my co-students is that while we are doing 12, 13, 14 stations for any module in the live session. So you present one case. What about the remaining stations? You just listen to them, right? So don't just go away with that, because see, many modules have actually 13, 14 topics only. Like if you go with the fertility, you go with the urogynecology, early pregnancy, there are only 13, 14 things only. So if you are prepared with those stations, at least you can do well in those stations. And if you do very good in 7, 8 stations in your exam, you are very close to pass. And then you have another 2, 3 borderline, you have done it. Okay, so be very strategic when you are preparing. You know that there are some modules in which there are limited stations, right? Particularly when I talk about the fertility, when I talk about the early pregnancy, when I talk about the urogynecology, there are only few things which are repeatedly coming in exam. Does it make sense? Am I right? Am I right? Do you all align with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we can be better prepared for those modules, right? So that we don't make mistakes in that. Now, how to be better prepared? We have already discussed that 13, 14 stations in the class. But you presented only one. So you have a feedback for only one. So for the rest, what you can do is you have the template in your hand. You have the mark sheet in your hand. You have the station framed. Go practice with your study buddy and send the recording to your mentor, so that she can give you the feedback for that also. So this way, you will take the advantage of all 13, 14 stations which are going to come into the exam, right? So when you are prepared with your basic stations, you can at least make them perfectly right. And always remember, it's the basics which bring pass or fail, right? So that's a very, very important thing. Ineffective preparation focus, right? We are focused on too many things. I have to cover this, I have to cover that, I should go and know 3, 4 more stations. Oh my god, that in that course there are 3, 4 more stations were covered. There also that there was there. But basic thing is that you have to know the basic stations. Then there is mix and match, right? Sometimes they can pick up something from here and put it here. Sometimes they can pick up something and mix them together. So if you know, then you can, with your open-mindedness, you can just mix that. And that's actually what we do is, in our course, we take up the basic things, right? Basic things, teaching all modules. But when I come to the recall course, right? When I take the recalls, which is a part of my full course, because I believe anybody who is taking the full course should get everything in that. Full course means he should do the full course with you, do all the recalls, also have a 7 station mock also. So everything, it should be a complete package, right? That person should not actually feel that he has to go to somewhere else to get something because he has joined the full course. So he should have the complete opportunity. So what I do is that in the course full modules, I give the opportunity to face all the basic stations. Then when I go to recalls, I do this mix match as they do in the exam scenarios. And there you will find the tricky scenarios, right? So all the tricks, they will be handled and you will be prepared for the handling tricks with the open-mindedness. So there should be a clear roadmap, right? Roadmap to start from the basics and go up to the tricky, and then simultaneously building the stamina with the regular practice. So everything, you have to be prepared physically, you have to be prepared mentally, and you have to be prepared with the knowledge wise. So we have to nurture you from all the ways to reach the destination. And this is how the clear roadmap of practice and focus, particularly on the high yield topics, is very, very important. Nobody can cover 100% syllabus. There is ocean of syllabus. We already know that in part 2 also there's ocean of syllabus. Nobody can cover it 100%. It's always good to focus on that 80% which is going to bring you success. Now, so finally, what is the success formula we apply is engage, attend the live sessions, do enough role plays, case discussions and mocks, and use time effectively and go through the talks. For talks, we have a talk library, which access is given to you that has talk videos and talk summaries, right? No need to go through the complete talk articles. You can just go through the summaries and that will help you in defining your important points and talking about things in the structured discussion. So my only request is go back to basics. Because many a times, like, people come to me and they ask me, like, I've already done the full course, I've done the course 2 times, 3 times, what should I do? But again, remember, we have to go back to the basics. Why? Because the basics are the one which, when lag, then only we fail, right? If we do not lack the basics, we will not fail. Because for any new evidence, if I don't know what is the new evidence about that, I may get less marks. I may not get 80%, I'll get only 65%. That's fine. But I will not fail because of that. So if I'm missing something in the basics, then only the problem is there. So we have to start from the basics and now analyze that what actually was missing in my basics, right? Previously, when you were studying for the first time, you were learning the basics, right? But when you are doing it again, you are correcting your basics. You are going back, checking your basics, where it was wrong. So, but if you start directly from the tricky station, then you again miss the basics. And this is a mistake which many candidates actually make, because what they do is, once they are not able to go through it, then they directly go to crash course. So what happens is, when they go to crash course, they are there with the mentor for last 6 weeks or so. Now in that 6 weeks, very quickly the stations are being covered. And it is perceived that you have already done somewhere the full course and you know the basics. So again, your basics are getting missed. And the problem was at the level of basics, not at the level of tricks. Tricks is a problem, but basics is a bigger problem. So if you have not sorted out the bigger problem and you are again going to sort out at a higher level, we can't build a building, right? If the foundation we have not put up in a right way, it's difficult to build up the building. So first, strengthen your basics. So if you start from the base, that's a very, very good thing, and keep on analyzing where you are going wrong and start from there. So it's more about the basics rather than going on to the bigger things. Now, the next thing the question asked is, when is the new batch starting? So let me tell you, this is a unique feature of our courses, part 1, part 2, part 3, every part, right? We have a rolling courses, right? So it is like, you see this ball moving around in a circle. This ball either starts from here and completes the circle here. That's fine. This ball may start from here and complete the circle like this. This is fine. This is what is there in our courses, right? Every 3 months, the courses are repeated. For every module is for 1 month. So once we go through the complete circle, in 12 weeks, it is finished. Then next 12 weeks, again, it starts, right? So wherever you are starting, you will end at the same point. So no need to panic about, like, I missed joining the batch, now I have missed something or not. No worries about that. Wherever you are starting from, whichever modules, you will finish at that same module only. It is common for all our 3-part courses, because we have another unique feature of unlimited access, right? Unlimited access means we are not bounding you by 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, because we know that what are the problems with the RCOG. You may be deciding for May, but at the last minute, you don't get the seat, or RCOG cancels that seat. So what happens? Your course fee gets wasted because your time period is over. You may need to pay a minimal amount, but in our course, it is totally the unlimited access, the access till you pass. This is our commitment towards your success, because we believe that we are giving you everything which makes you pass. And if at all by any chance it is not possible, then I stay with you throughout your journey till you succeed. And it's totally a one-time payment which you have to make, and then you just continue till you pass. So these two are very unique features of our course. And when I tell people, they usually they wonder, is it possible? But yes, you can ask my previous students. It has been possible for last few years. We have been doing like this. This is how, when you go to our website, you will find the videos like this. Okay, so you can see that every module will have a first thing about the expected station and the patient information leaflets. From here, you will come to know what are the topics and what are the information leaflets for this particular module. So all your reading material and what are the topics you need to read in this is on the first page. After that, next video is usually about the basic template. And then you will have the videos of the various scenarios, right? In these videos, I've explained you how to talk about these stations. So this is how tell about mocks, it's included in the 12 weeks course. I'm coming to that, Dr. Fareen. I'm just coming to that. So basically, this is how the things go. So first 2 days of the week, I give you the time to go through these videos so that you are prepared. You are prepared with these stations, how to talk about that. And then comes the live sessions, right? Live sessions are like that 6 stations we do in one live session, 6 or maximum 7. And 6 students, 6 candidates will be presenting in that. Rest all can join as listener. In next live session, another 6 will present, and they will, the rest all will be the listeners. So you can keep on listening all these batches, but you will be presenting one case for that at least. And if other people are absent, then usually you may get the opportunity of presenting 2 or 3 cases also. So this is how every candidate gets a chance to present the case actively. How many active stations I can present in a course? 24 at least. This is the minimum number you can count on, but it can be many, many more, as many of my previous students have done. This is one new thing which I've introduced. Previously, we used to talk about the domains, but this time we have decided to give you the proper sheet for that, because I believe that this will help you in practicing at home also. The dependency on the mentor, and every time you are looking for somebody for the feedback and all this, will decrease. So this type of a sheet, if is in your hand, like you are also saying that you want to know what is static, what is not. So these things you will come to know from this particular answer sheet, and you will come to see, and you can easily score yourself by listening to your recording also. So that will make you more free, and you can practice at your own pace, at your own convenience, and mark yourself also. And then you can again another better feedback from your mentor, right? So this I think is going to be a very unique feature and going to help all of you much better way. It's like getting an answer sheet in your hand, from where you can actually see how closer you are to your ideal answer sheet. This is how it's going to work. Finally, we also include the 7-station mock. As Dr. Fareen was saying, what about the 12 months course, 12 weeks course? Yes, my courses have 7-station mock included in that, right? Once you pay the fees, you have the access to 24 live sessions which cover all modules, 12 live sessions which cover recalls. After we finish the modules, we will cover the 12 live sessions which covers the recalls. In this total, we cover almost 270 stations, which cover completely all recalls, starting from the old times up to the present day. And you can expect minimum 24 stations for active participation, and usually it is more also. So unique features, other unique features are like I also provide 2 hours of personal mentoring. What is this personal mentoring, right? Because I believe that there are some of the things which we can't talk about in the session. Maybe some problem with the communication, maybe some problem with the language. So we can always connect separately out of the session in 1-to-1, and we can practice that. Sometimes you face a problem in any particular station, like labor ward prioritization. You want to practice it separately with me. You can take the advantage of these 2 hours and practice that separately with me. So this personal mentoring is a very unique feature, which is particularly important for the part 3. So it gives you a one-on-one experience in a group course. So unlimited access till you pass, I have already told you, and 7-station mock circuit is included because I believe that when I'm giving you the course, I have to give you the full package. So I'll prepare you from the basic for all the modules, then I'll prepare you for the tricks with the recalls, and finally I give you the real feel of the exam with a 7-station mock. So this is how step by step I'm building that. Previously, we used to hold special sessions for the labor ward prioritization tasks, but looking at the current scenario, I've also added the special sessions for structured discussion tasks as well, so that your burden of going through the talk summaries, although I'm providing the talk summaries, but at least that will be decreased as well, because once we discuss it in the class, it becomes more easier to remember for the exam. So these all features we are going to provide you. If now you have any questions, you are welcome to ask. I think Dr. Fareen, I answered your question. Yes, it is included in the 12 weeks course, right? Any other question? Anybody wants to ask? Fee is 49,999 for the complete package. 49,999 INR, Indian rupees. Fine? Okay.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Just a small doubt, ma'am. So how do we know like which is the asterisk spots? As you told, like you're just guessing, or how is it like? It might be the probable one. Like, how do we exactly know?
So that's what I am saying now. We may not be 100% right to the mark sheet, what we are providing as a mock mark sheet, although it would be very close, because with things I have also seen how it works. And we know that actually how it is structured. But still, I won't say that I am the RCOG and I am preparing that. I will definitely not say that. But what I am saying that I'm always focusing on the 80% and not focusing on that last 20%. For I would like to go and die. Because if I am okay with the 80%, I can easily score 65, 70, 75% in the exam and I can pass. Right? So even if whatever mock we are creating, if it is 80% closer to the structured mark sheet, I'm happy with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Mock is online. There is nothing offline. Yeah. What are the timings of classes and specific days? Days are usually the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday out of these days. And I give you the schedule well in advance for next 3 months so that you can adjust your duties. Classes timings are, I've kept 2 timings. One time is 3 p.m. India time and another time is 9 p.m. India time. So in week, one day we have 3 p.m. and one day we have 9 p.m. So that those who can join in the afternoon, they are comfortable to join, they can join in afternoon. Those who are comfortable to join in the night, they can join in night. And because people also join from the other countries, so because of the time differences also, sometimes some people are not able to join at night, like Malaysia people, for them 9 p.m. becomes too late. So they join earlier in the afternoon. And like this, where whoever has, like UK people prefer to join at night. So like this, it goes. So therefore 2 timings are there. Is there a 6 weeks course as well? It's not exactly 6 weeks, but yes, 8 weeks or so. In that you will have these recall sessions, right? It will start from the recall sessions and go for the mock, right? That's it. But as I told you that, I mean, it may save like 10-12,000 INR, but it's good that you start from the basics and correct your basics first, because again, then recalls become a bit hurried up thing, and then it is like a bit difficult to cover up the basics, which is the problem actually. But of course, it's totally your decision. When the course is starting and ending, so as I told you, that we have a roller, right, going on from wherever point you will start, you will end. But for now, this 12 weeks are going to end in February mid. And those who are joining now, like they will finish their course by March first week. And then March and April will be dedicated for the recalls. So now, like when you know that you have to enter, so it's good to enter early so that you cover it by the at a proper time. What is the difference between 12 and 8 weeks course? No, this 12 weeks is the full course. We are doing all the modules, and after that, at 8 weeks course is also included in this, right? Then next 8 weeks you will be doing the recall. So it is not only 12 weeks; it's a complete course till the May. It will not finish at 12 weeks. Those who join now, they will not finish at 12 weeks. They will finish their syllabus at 12 weeks and then they will do the recalls in next 8 weeks. So they will do complete course till the May exam, because till the last day it is important to practice, right? Dr. Nazia, did I answer your question? You got it? So it's basically 12 weeks initially for full course, followed by 8 weeks of recall session, and then 7 station mock. This is how it's going to work for the full course students. Those who will start for the decall course will start from here, from the 8 weeks and the 7th station, right? But I highly recommend that you start from here, because this will only make a difference of around 12,000 to 13,000 INR, but it will give you a much value as compared to this fees. So you can say that because you don't have to book the mock separately, so you are actually saving on that. So you can utilize that amount in doing the starting the course from the basics. Right? Any other questions? Will there be a difference in access of course library? No. But of course, if you have access only for the 8 weeks, you will be very rushed up going through everything in the 8 weeks. And if you start now, you can do it slowly and slowly. Because sometimes it becomes difficult, because at that time, whether you revise or whether you go through the new material. Right? Any other questions? Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
How are talk summaries given? Like, just
So we have a proper talk library, right? In which month-wise that there are 4 talks in any year. So they are arranged like that. And every talk has either the small video of 10-15 minutes and there is a PDF below that. And or some of the talks have only PDFs. So that PDFs have the summaries. So you can just quickly go through them in 10 minutes. This is the same library we provide for the Part 2 students as well. So it is properly maintained. And you will have the access to that, and you can always just go and revise from there. You don't have to every time go and look at the talk article, find out that algorithm chart. It's already prepared in that. We prepare the algorithms, we prepare the charts, whatever are present in the talk, we paste it there. So that becomes very easy to access. Okay, yeah. Yes, Dr. Nazia, thank you. Yes, it's my job to answer your all questions patiently. It's not about this session. In course also, if you come across, I'll try to answer all your queries with a complete patience. Right? Any more questions from anyone? So every successful MRCAG candidate started where you are today. Stay committed, trust the process, and let us guide you to the success. Yeah, thank you so much for joining in. Anybody, if have any queries, this is my number. You can always get in touch with me on the Telegram, on the WhatsApp, on the call. I'll be happy to answer and help you out. Right? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chitra. Thank you, Dr. Shweta. I hope all queries are done now, right? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.